right, guys, so starting here in the bottom right-hand corner, our red Zerg player managed to take that last game from Team Quantic. He is HyuN. And what a game it was. Game number 3. Lots of battle throughout the entire set. It was not by any means a stagnant 40-minute game. But his opponent currently leading 2-0 right now. Currently teamless as well. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Polt. So a really, really cool game number 3. What are we going to see here on game 4? A lot of people, you know, Kev, they call Icarus the cheese map.
Icarus is a cheese map, but I like it. I like this map. I really do. I love maps where you have naturals that expand away from your main, so it's actually farther away than the main is, so it creates more activity, more defensive nature inside of the main itself.
Yeah.
I think this one has decent running paths through the middle, but this could be a situation where if it goes to late game, Polt's going to have a pretty good ability to lock things down with siege tanks around those high ground places outside of the Xel'Naga Tower.
Yeah, there's a limited number of paths you can take.
Right, so this is one of our newer maps. I think this may be the first time we've ever broadcast this in IPL history. So
I am in agreement.
Okay, so if you guys are new to this map and you're watching pretty much exclusively IPL, you have your main. It's fairly large. Like I mentioned before, your natural actually expands away from you, and this one actually has a couple of rich mineral fields contained therein with a single rich Vespian geyser. Now, if you decide that you want to go ahead and move outside of your base, you have a couple of different options, but neither are terribly accessible. You have your what is your common third off to the side. Zerg players will take this more often because there's just the one ramp to watch in addition to the big staging area, but then you have one that's a little bit farther away off to the top. You see how much surface area you actually have to defend there.
Yeah, it's really, it's pretty tough. So it makes it, as we called it, the all-in map. You know, there's a lot of area throughout the course of this game, in fact, but that you do need to really have on lockdown. So Polt, off the bat, has opened with a 1 Rax expand. We'll see actually 2 gases right behind this. And this is not the it's not the worst map to go for this strategy, but here's the thing. HyuN's going to be able to come in with this Overlord and see this follow-up, and I would not be surprised to see him go for Roaches, you know, his Roach opening when he sees this, because the common transition here is, in fact, those Hellions.
That's right, and this isn't like some other maps where you have well-positioned bunkers and things like that. You do have to be very conscious of these rocks that are sitting around the back towards that. I don't want to call it the hidden expansion, but of course the back expansion in a lot of ways. So HyuN could certainly decide to transition over to some aggression. It didn't serve him well in games 1 and 2. He won game number 3 on the back of very solid macro play, but like you said, this isn't really the map for that.
Yeah, we'll have to see how things do continue to evolve. He's going to be opening with speed first off, which is a little bit surprising. Well, actually, you know what? On a map like Icarus, it's not at all. I just was expecting quicker Roaches. You know what? Maybe I'm a little bit too favored towards the all-in possibility, but definitely expect some early aggression here.
Oh, look at that! The Overlord! No! It was just out of range. Thought it was going to survive.
Wow.
Very sad for that Overlord. Zergling comrade's going to take revenge.
That was really cool.
Fallen Overlord.
Out of Polt, we actually saw him very early on send that first Marine up into the top right, and I was like, oh, that's cool. He's checking for... first I thought he was checking the rocks, then realized, no, he's checking for an Overlord.
Yeah.
In fact, gets it.
Worked out really well for him.
Yeah.
And the Marines win that tug-of-war battle right back by clearing off those couple of Zerglings that were coming to attack. So now Polt has enough, and there it is. I was about to say, for a second factor, if he wants to go for that same Blue Flame Hellion build. This is actually a great map for that.
Kevin.
What?
We have a Baneling nest on the way for HyuN.
Oh, God, yeah, hey, that's a thing. I was not paying attention to that, and you are correct. So this is going to be a very, 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 very strong Speedling Baneling push, if not an all-in.
Guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. We've got an all-in here from HyuN. And Polt, well, he's going to have Hellions, which are going to be super nice if he manages to spot the Zerglings. Will HyuN try to lead him out of position? Oh, God, I think he's going to see this. No, he didn't. He did not.
He did actually check 4 lings running up to the top.
Yeah, he would have seen them. Okay.
With speed as well. So that's a little bit of a tell, but not necessarily just the 4 lings themselves. Getting early speed, though, that could be a bit of a tip-off.
Yeah, he sent the Hellions home, so that's not something you do, by the way, so he knows. Blue Flame is going to be started. He's already got a bunker on the high ground. Will we see a second one started here, though?
Yeah, kind of surprised he's not making at least 1 or 2 more Marines at a time just to be able to keep putting this into this bunker or
not even
situate them on the high ground. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised about that.
All right, well, it looks like he thinks this might be something to take down the back rocks, but here it is. Baneling's going to explode the reactor. The bunker is in a ton of danger. It falls as well, and now it's just Zerglings, more Banelings, and Hellions.
That's right. Oh, and he was trying to lead those Hellions directly into the Banelings. They're all finished up, trying to make their way in. He's trying to get us around. Polt, really nice shot, takes out a ton of Zerglings, but you're right, the economy is now in danger.
And the Banelings making contact there. Banelings making it into the middle line. Two exploded on the command center. Now there's only one remaining, chasing away the SCVs. Lots of Hellions still alive. That Baneling doesn't make contact, and overall, I think a great hold out of Polt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's going to be plenty enough. There's going to be a big Roach Baneling all in after this. I mean, he's making another round of drones, and he's going to go for stage 2 here in just a bit. It's going to be very difficult to macro out of this, so he's got to just try and do damage and do it now.
Yeah, you know, the Roach weren't completely necessary, as he did see the tech lab researching Blue Flame, so that's going to be really helpful for HyuN. He's going to make his way to Lair Tech, actually, extremely fast.
That is, that's gutsy. It's a bold move, Cotton. We'll see how it pans out for him. I don't know how this is going to work out, just due to the fact that Polt could very well, I mean, I see what he's trying to go for. He's doing a 2-base big layer tech switch, trying to probably go all in off of that, but he's got a couple of things working both for him and against him. He's going to have enough Roaches that'll be able to stop these Blue Flame Hellions. They're actually not a threat right now. The Roaches are in perfect position. So he wants to be able to get in there before any sort of a big tech transition hits, with just a few units to try and help him stabilize. But the problem is his economy is going to be so limited, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that.
Yeah, 1, 2, well, he's working on that 3rd gas now. You really need 3 gases to be able to pump out Roaches at the rate you want to on 2-base with a lair. And he's going to have a little bit more than 3 gases with the Rich Vespene Geyser, so actually that's why we see him going for double Evo here. And he's just going to make lots of Roaches, it seems like, which is going to work fine. It's not, you know, the Karn build or anything coming his way. There's in fact going to be siege tanks this time around, so Polt playing it differently, and HyuN is going to have an appropriate build to deal with that. This is mech for once.
This is true mech, not the Karn build you were talking about before, because there's a 3rd command center. He's only on 4 factories at the moment, not the big 5-factory 2-base all-in we saw before. And here comes an Overseer to, well, actually pick up on everything.
Yep, he's going to be very happy with what he sees here. Also sees that the armory is working on those upgrades, so it should be a while here before Polt decides to move out. 3rd command center, he's going to manage to spot that as well. So HyuN should feel pretty comfortable with making drones.
Yeah, and he actually spots the 4th at the same time, so really good stuff there for HyuN. One Hellion is going to be called to go to his death. There he goes. Hellion's going to try and swing around the side to see if anything else is coming up. No, it is not. And Polt could play just the good, solid late game macro game, but he is going to give HyuN the ability to kind of catapult his way back into this with good tech choices.
Right. So an analogy that we've pulled on a lot is, you know, the difference between 2 and 4 is double, but the difference between, you know, 66 and 64 is, well, very minimal, because your numbers are just that much bigger. So although Polt had a big advantage after holding off that Baneling bust, that advantage is really going to narrow in margin as the game progresses, because there's just more stuff on the field.
And what do we see right now but ventral sacs being researched? So we're going to have a big drop play from HyuN, and this is, of course, the key thing that a lot of players do against mech. This is why mech players will move in and build rings of turrets all the way around their base to make sure they don't die to anything.
Yep.
And Polt's going to need that ring very soon, otherwise he's going to be very surprised at the rate that these Overlord drops with Roaches actually get in.
Yeah, they're going to be hitting really fast here. And the big thing for Polt is that he needs to see these Overlords approaching. If the Overlords are able to surprise his army and just swing in and, you know, fly over sieged tanks will literally just kill themselves if you manage to drop Roaches on them. So Polt wants to unsiege his tanks to deal with the Roach drops. And it's basically this funny little game that you play where the Roaches are on the ground, okay, you're sieged. If the Roaches are in Overlords, you want to be unsieged.
Now, that was actually very fortunate for HyuN. I don't know if everyone saw what just happened there. He's going to lose a couple of these workers here, but that Overseer had actually gotten out of range just before speed popped up, so it wasn't revealed for an additional about 25 seconds or so, and Polt now has the information and may be able to react to that and know that there's a possibility of drops coming, but that is a bit delayed, so fortunate for HyuN.
All right, Overlord should be moving out on the map here in just a second. His drops are completed. 2-2 is starting up for HyuN as well. We'll have to see if he, you know, there's a couple ways you can use Overlord drops. You can use them to drop into the main and cause your opponent to bring their mech army home when they want to be pushing, which for Polt is in just about a minute here. You want to push around 150 supply is when people have found that you have a good critical mass of tanks. Alternatively, HyuN could use these Roaches to actually just drop on top of the mech army.
Yes.
Those are really the two ways you use Overlord drops.
That's right, because if you can get in there, you mentioned before, siege tanks will just kill not only themselves, but also all the other Thors and everything that are laying around. Plus, their great effect is that they can start taking out units before they make their way into the engagement, and that's simply not the case whenever you drop right on top of their heads.
All right, so Overlord speed is completely revealed now that Overseer is moving like at light speed. And it's going to get a full scout once again. Roach just moving on the map will deny vision at the Xel'Naga Tower, and now the Overlords are those Overlords actually moving out across the map?
Would assume,
it looks like
yeah.
it, yep. So he's getting ready for this drop.
Yeah, a giant Roach drop, and this is close to all in, guys, because if this fails miserably, if Polt picks up on this right away and he's able to defend it very easily, there's no recourse for this. Tech options are very limited for HyuN at this stage of the game.
But Polt's got a sensor tower.
Oh, you're right. So where is this drop going to go? Looks like it's making its way up to the third, and he's going to try and get a couple units in sensor tower range to try and draw some of those forces away, and he indeed is.
All right, so here come the Overlords. Nice bait there from HyuN. Polt not with units in position. The Overlords are now making their way into the third, dropping on top of the mech army. The tanks are mostly sieged. There are a couple not sieged as well. I don't know if it's enough, though. He's getting a lot of damage in. And it looks like it is. These tanks being sieged is too much for Polt. He drops 40 supply, and now HyuN is going to cascade forward with all these units.
That's right, but this is a really well-positioned planetary fortress that came up at a decent time. So HyuN is actually going to lose the vast majority of his forces too, and he actually needs to start getting these Overlords out of here so we can begin stage 2 here in just a second, which is on the way. 24 Roaches now popping up. Tanks a little more neutralized, so not any being created at the moment. This is a very difficult position for Polt. He has to hold this follow-up.
He does, and HyuN from here, after making all these Roaches for this push, he can, if he wants, just macro and pull really... This is actually an interesting choice out of HyuN, to go for the push instead of going for the macro. It definitely can work, but if it doesn't, he's going to probably be in an even situation with his opponent, whereas if he makes this work, of course, he'll win.
Yes, he is on very low drone count at the moment, just 59 for now, and Polt gets a little far forward there, sees some Roaches, like, nope, not dealing with that right now.
But the Hellions will be caught by these Roaches, and they're actually going to make their way down through the bottom left, utilizing these ramps. And nope, not opting to go for the run into the main. You can kind of circumvent around that back hallway in order to do that on Icarus. But here comes the drop out of HyuN. He's loading up, and he's moving in.
And he's going to move directly into the main this time. Now we start to see a semblance of a missile turret ring that we were talking about before, but HyuN could actually go completely around this. It looks like he's actually just going to gun it for the sensor tower to make sure that any subsequent drops will be very successful.
All right, drop it in. Roach is landing right now. Thor are getting off some volleys here. I don't think that HyuN actually has enough here. These siege tanks are in too good of a position, and this is what we were talking about before. So now HyuN went for this big drop. It didn't work, and now HyuN is not nearly as good of a position as he was before. He just threw away a ton of Roaches. He could have been macroing this entire time.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And he's actually losing Overlords like flies now, so he can't even reproduce his army. He has to spend 600 minerals just to make a bunch of Overlords. He tried to do a dual-pronged attack behind this, but Polt is actually able to shift back his forces in time, and the Hellions are serving their purpose. They're mineral only, and they're there to absorb a little bit of damage, so the Thors can do their work, and indeed, they do.
Yeah, HyuN just plummeted in supply, and Polt's a lot closer now to being able to push than he was before, because he's got a lot of siege tanks left this time around. He's got 4 or 5, whereas last time, he's got 7 siege tanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
He can push in a minute or two here, and
absolutely.
HyuN now does not have the opportunity to make drones, whereas earlier he could have. So ultimately, it was a gamble, and it didn't work out for HyuN. So now Polt has a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, after the first one, though, you're right. He could have moved in and tried to do some damage afterwards, but just didn't work out quite the way he would have liked. So let's take a recap of things right now. 33 Roaches on the field, and that's the entire attack force for HyuN at the moment. 3 Thors and 10 siege tanks, 12 Hellions making up the bulk of the ground forces for Polt.
+3 vehicle weapons is also on the way for Polt, and that's nearing completion. He's going to make a move right now for this top right-hand corner because there was an Overlord there actually denying. This has been going on for about 3 minutes now. This creep has been denying this command center, but moving back is HyuN right now in order to deal with these Hellions that were coming in. HyuN's done a great job of not taking any Hellion run-by damage this entire game.
And that actually is a major concern. And how often have you seen games where players go for a big drop strategy and then they just get their economy obliterated, and then there's no follow-up to that?
It's so common. And HyuN, I was just looking, he actually hasn't lost a single worker this entire game. So really, really well played out of him.
Catches a few more Hellions out of position, doesn't get far enough to engage the tanks, and very well done once again.
All right, so maxed out HyuN at this point pretty much. He's at 93 out of 194. couple more roaches on the way, some spine crawlers, and likely gases will be taken in a moment here over at this 4th base.
Now Polt, though, he's almost mined out of his 3rd. He's trying to take this 4th up here, and this could become a point of contention. If HyuN can find a way to stop that for a little period of time, Polt's actually going to be able to make another, 12 Hellions after this, and that's it.
Yeah, this map reminds me to a certain degree of a map we used to see in the GSL Crossfire.
Oh, God.
With how far away that expansion is. And Polt's just having a really difficult time dealing with the few roaches that HyuN has been sending up there. It's so important for him to get that base, and he hasn't been able to do it. I
like the way he's establishing his presence on the map, killing creep tumors, and taking his, what is it now, 5th base behind this.
Oh, man.
But here comes the big drop from HyuN. He's going to try and get a few units down. He needs to get right on top of these siege tanks. Can he do it?
He's dropped a couple of units pretty early here to engage against the Thor. Beautiful drops on top of the siege tanks, though, and I think that might be this army completely gone for Polt. Yeah, Roach is going to clean it all up, Kev.
That was incredibly impressive. That was as good of an engagement as HyuN could have possibly asked for, and Polt's entire purpose was to get out on the map, start denying a little bit of economy here and there, start taking back control of the map while he took his own 5th and played for the late game mech. And now he can't do it. Oh, HyuN has to make sure he doesn't overcommit with these roaches, though. He's running directly into a bunch of siege tanks. He's already lost another 10.
Yeah, he's taking a ton of damage right now. These roaches all are, he's trying to get in economic damage, but really he's not going to be able to do too much. Overlords keep getting picked off, by the way, from these Vikings. The Queen's unable to defend them so far out, but he is going to push in and force a lift on this orbital. The top right expansion has still yet to land. So HyuN has pretty good control right now, but we got to see how things pan out. There we go. The infestation pit is going to go down. HyuN's going to start making his way up to some higher tech.
I was actually planning, whenever you had passed the conversation back, if you hadn't mentioned infestors, to just go, where are the infestors?
Yeah.
Because we need them at this stage of the game. The gas income is still really, really good for HyuN at this point. Yes, he's going to be out of that rich Vespian geyser. Yes, he's getting low inside of his main, but he's still got a fair bit remaining, and he needs to be able to start putting out those high-tech forces now.
Well, Kev, he's going to be working his way towards that. He's also getting Burrow, which is... I cannot believe that this Roach has denied this expansion in the top right for so long, but
I know.
Lots of money here for HyuN.
Oh, God, and this orbital cannon is actually taking a ton of damage. That's fresh mules. That's about 1,200, 1,300 resources damage that's done just by killing those mules right away.
And that's huge because Polt needs that money, but here's the thing from HyuN. He actually needs to spend his money. He's sitting on 2K, 1,400. And money, and here's the thing, guys. You know, in StarCraft, you don't want to have money in the bank. That money is units that could be on the field that could be winning you this game.
That's right.
And in this situation, HyuN sitting on all this cash, where he's got 80 empty supply, he could have, 70 more roaches on the field.
Yes, but he's got 29 larvae available. That's all going to go to infestors in a second. There's 10. So 10 infestors, it'll be at 11 here in just a second. Then he can actually make a decision as to what he wants to do with his remaining 2,500 minerals, if it's going to be more hatcheries, try and take control of the map, zerglings to fill up his excess supply. But obviously, he's waiting for those infestors there, now has those.
All right, so Polt has finally stabilized on this 4th base down here in the bottom left. Lots of mules working that mineral line, and they're actually going to evaporate that thing. Roach is heading up to the top right, going to go for a slight counterattack here. There's only one siege tank in position, actually, to deal with it.
And that base, again, we're another 10 minutes into the game for where that Roach was actually denying that base in the top right-hand corner.
Yeah. Been there for so long. Roaches are going to make their way in for some economic harassment, and this should bring Polt's good portion of Polt's army home. Here comes 3 Roaches, 4 Hellions, and he's going to kill off a bunch of SCVs.
Yep, that's right. So SCV's killed, a few Hellions actually get torched as well. But good job here, and he's going to force a scan out. There's plenty of energy to go around, so that's not that big of a deal, but it's still annoying. But Polt is mining out these bases very quickly. He's only had control of this for about 2 or 3 minutes, already gone a third of its resources.
Yeah, with all those mules on it, it's just, as we were saying, absolutely evaporating. HyuN at the same time is getting pretty low on his 4th in the bottom left. But his 3rd rather. His 4th, though, is looking pretty good. Still averaging about 1,000 minerals on these mineral patches at that base.
Oh, neural parasite, almost done researching at the moment, and I'm very excited for that against late game mech armies, taking over a couple of siege tanks, taking over a couple of Thors. Always very fun to watch, and actually incredibly effective.
Yeah, Bagration actually was asking on the TL report. He was like, I wonder if Neural Parasite would have won that game number 2 for HyuN. And, well, now we're going to see it this time around. It's definitely a difficult ability to use. It allows you to take control of an enemy unit, but with relatively short range. It has limited effectiveness versus, heavy siege tank-based comps, but there's a lot of Thor, and you can steal those. It's really good.
And Polt looks like he knows what's going on here, and he doesn't quite kill the Overlord. 1 shot away. All 8 Roaches going to get down. Of course, there's there's no economic damage to be done here inside of the main. He just wants to be annoying as possible
But a push
and start
from
picking
Polt.
off a couple of these units.
Down in the middle of the map, Hellion's engaging versus the Spine Crawler. Where is the army of HyuN actually? Taking a look around the map, it's mostly not in position to deal with this, and he's actually just going to sack this base. This is hugely important. He's going to go for the counter.
Wow, he's actually going to try and base trade this against a couple of bases. That Roach still denying the base in the top right-hand corner.
Yep.
And he's actually doing damage to 2 bases right now. Once again, neutralizing a good portion of the Beals. They were all bowed out anyway, so not that big of a deal, but he does deny the mining there for quite a while.
Where did the infestors go, though? They're all hiding, those sneaky infestors. I don't see them anywhere.
Yeah, I really don't know where they're at. We'll have to find out here in just a bit. They certainly have burrows, so they could make their way around as
there they
time
are.
goes along.
All the way down in the 6 o'clock position of the map.
Aha.
So not there to help for now.
Totally full energy, and HyuN needs to start putting up that hatchery once again, because
does.
if this base gets taken out, this third, that's actually all the resources he has left.
Yeah.
There is another hatchery started in the bottom left-hand corner, and Polt has to watch out because he's actually got his entire army trapped. Oh, and everything gets fungled on the ramp here. Parasite of a couple of these Thors. They're working against their own units there. Really, really well done here by HyuN, and he takes over this entire force. Standing ovation even from a guy in the crowd for that amazing Neural Parasite play.
HyuN just obliterated Polt's army. We were talking about it. Not enough siege tanks there for Polt. He had 2 or 3 with that army. Consequently, his Thor ended up killing his entire army. HyuN with a huge play there, and although he's not really mining right now, he may have just won himself that game.
Unbelievable play, and HyuN making a real show of this right now. Poised to actually move in. There it is, GG. We're tied up 2-2. That's as close as it gets. And we go from a 25-minute game to a 40-minute game to a 32-minute game. This is just unbelievable. These two are playing incredibly well.
Kevin, he was hiding those infestors the entire game. That's the thing. We were wondering, where are the infestors? Where are the infestors? He never showed the infestors. They were still hiding. He didn't let them be seen by any scans or in any position. He was like, I don't know infestors. Why? Just make Thor. Thor kill Roach. Just make... And then came out of nowhere with those neural parasites. That was so beautiful out of HyuN.
What a sick play. So guys, we are tied up. Don't forget, we're going to a best of 11.
Wow.
That's its first to 6 wins here. So still a long way to go for the rest of this event. We're going to take a quick commercial break though, and when we get back, we'll see who breaks the tie here between Polt and Quantic HyuN at South by Southwest Gaming.